Welcome, Caleb's Basketball Pod. For this episode, we're going to start off with talking about what Adam Silver announced as the new All-Star format. Then we're going to talk about the four teams I mentioned: Houston, LA Lakers, Milwaukee Bucks, and Detroit Pistons, and also just give a couple little extra thoughts on the NBA Finals coming up. So let's jump right in. Let's start with this All-Star format. So Adam Silver announced today that it's going to be USA versus World. What do I think of this? I think it's a really bad idea. Used to be an honor to make an All-Star game, and with the way the players have played in the All-Star game, it's not as much of it's not an honor to make it. It's not an honor to play in it because it's not even as good as a pickup game that you can go down to your local park and watch. And that's sad because guys like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, they all took this like super serious and made it super competitive, and you got what everybody wanted. You got the best pickup game in the world. It hasn't been the same for a few years now. I get you try and change it, you try and do this and that, and you try and make something out of it, but changing it to USA versus World, in my opinion, is not it. And that's because there's not 12 world players, I think, that can be All-Stars. I think you can name a few, but I don't think there's enough to make a roster from it. I think you're going to have more on the USA side, and at that point, you're going to miss out guys that really deserve it. Let's just give an example. Let's say Jalen Williams for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Say they're the number one team in the Western Conference again, and they won the NBA championship this year, and it's next year. They're the number one team, and Jalen Williams is having a great year, much like he did this season, and he got in. He's having that same exact great year. We know SGA is probably more than likely going to be an All-Star, probably in MVP talks. He'll be playing for the World. Well, Jalen Williams needs to make it, and he's a USA player. But instead of him making it, you're giving a spot to, and this ain't the shot, and it's not a shot at anyone or any player in particular, but it's just going by what you would have to do to make this World in USA. You would have to give a spot to Andrew Wiggins, who maybe's averaging, say, 7 points less than Jalen Williams on a team that's nowhere near as good as the Oklahoma City Thunder. How is that fair? And how does that work out? And then if you do non-world players on the world team, then how does that work out? So either way, I don't think it's good. I don't think they're going to get what they want out of it. And I think it's not going to be an honor to make the All-Star team as much, because you're going to say, I had to get in because I was a world player that had really good numbers. And then the guys that really deserve it, that say maybe USA players, they're not going to get in. I don't like this format. I get the NHL does it. I don't think it's meant for the NBA. I think they should keep it East and West. I really believe if you put Game 7 of the NBA Finals on the line, and cash and money, and whatever side won, East or West, got Game 7, and you would still have your standard format of, say, it's Oklahoma versus, let's just say, Indiana this year. Just like now. Oklahoma's the better team, but Indiana's in the East, and the East won the All-Star game. Let's just say that. So you would have 2 in Oklahoma, 2 in Indiana. Then you'd have 1 back in Oklahoma, and then you would have 1 in Indiana. Instead of going back to Oklahoma for Game 7, you would stay in Indiana for Game 7 because the Eastern Conference won the NBA All-Star Game. That plus incentives like money, I think you could really turn the All-Star Game around, and I think it just goes to playing with passion. And if you're not playing with passion, then what are you doing, and what can you strive for, and how can you honestly say you're one of the greats? One of the greats took these All-Star games serious and proved that they were not only the best, but the best of the best. So I just think it's stuff like that, and it's adding up. And and it's going to be interesting, but I don't know. I just don't see, no matter what way you do it, these guys playing with passion. I honestly believe you want to be the best. You do what Kobe did. You do what Michael Jordan did. And you go out and you show you're not only the best, but you're the best of the best. But I don't think that's anything that these young guys or these current players want. I think it's all about rest and not playing as much. And they're seeing results, and some of them's getting to the NBA Finals. So, hey, maybe it's working for them. But I just, I like the old All-Star format. I like the guys going at it and really challenging each other and really just trying to be the best. But I think we're a long way away from seeing that again in an All-Star game. But it'll be interesting to see how this format works out. I just don't like how the All-Stars are going to have to be picked now. But I do hope it's a better outcome and a more competitive All-Star game, at least, if nothing else. Jumping on to another little thing, a couple little extra things about the NBA Finals coming up tomorrow night, Game 1. Don't feel I did enough justice on the last episode about what Indiana can do to beat Oklahoma. I think everyone's like, okay, Oklahoma's winning this and that. I honestly believe Indiana can beat Oklahoma. They're going into a lot of series where they're the underdog. Maybe not as much of an underdog, in my opinion. After they beat Cleveland in the second round, it went from they're the underdog to, in my opinion, they were the favorites against New York. I thought New York was a little bit of the underdogs just because of how Indiana was playing and really dominating teams that people perceived were ahead of them. Okay, but you jump to now, Oklahoma's been dominating for a while. So necessarily Indiana is back in that underdog spot, and do you underestimate them? No, because that's really, really dumb, because if you do, you know what's going to happen. The other thing is, think the best way to beat them, you have to keep the pace. You have to push the pace like you're doing. Keep the ball ahead, get the ball out, makes or miss, doesn't matter. Get the ball out, get ahead, get to who has the best shots, the best advantage, the best shot to attack on the break, and that's what you're doing. Another thing, when it's in the half-court offense, you're going to have to set some screens. You're going to really have to work on getting mismatches. It's going to be hard because you have 2 7-footers in Harkenstein and Chet. But there's mismatches out there. There's those, same thing you did with Cleveland, the getting Strus on Miles Turner, bringing the bigs out. There's that. And there's also the trying to get SGA on Pascal Siakam, or trying to get SGA being attacked. I think if you keep attacking him and you keep doubling him every time he touches or crosses half court, I think you're going to wear him down. You'll get the ball out of his hands, and you're not going to get as much production from SGA. And at that point, the other guys will have to beat you. And I think that's a really, really good way to beat this Oklahoma City Thunder team. But then at that same point, if you're the Thunder, I would be more comfortable playing in the half court. I think you're fine. I think SGA is good enough to get guys going, get himself going, and playing the half court. I would want to play the fast break game. I've watched games and I've heard people talk about it. Indiana is very, very good when the ball is moved ahead quick and the ball is out fast. They don't even turn the ball over a whole lot at that point. And why would you want to play that game? You have no advantage. Oklahoma's great at getting the hands on the ball, deflections, getting out in transition, scoring. And then just doing, big defensive stops. Sometimes they'll swing the momentum and it takes the whole game and it changes you, and they go on this huge run and they dominate from there. And that's how they get out. But at that same point, Indiana has more experience in close clutch games. We're seeing OKC run away with games. It makes you wonder if some of these games are close. Will they favor Indiana? And that's going to be fun to watch and the fun part of this series. But, again, you don't want to push for pace if you're Oklahoma. You don't want to play the speed game. The only way you do is if you can get deflections, get steals, get out on the break and score. Otherwise, you do not want to let Indiana play fast pace where there's no deflections, where there's no steals. They're going to score and they're going to run all over you. And you don't want that. You want your defense to be able to set. You have the best defense, and it's been the best defense. You want to be able to set that defense. If you're Indiana, you don't want to allow that defense to set, and you want to do your own thing. Get out in transition. Be very careful in transition. Average even lower turnovers when they run than they do when they keep you at a half-court game. So interesting stat to watch. And it's going to be whoever wins the pace battle is going to win game one. Whoever wins game one is going to have a lot of momentum and may be able to step on the gas and start to put this series away early. So let's just check it out on Thursday and see. I'll jump into our teams. Let's start in the East. Let's start with Detroit. Way too early off-season forecast. Detroit, they're not going to be, in my opinion, a championship team in the next 2 or 3 years. But you put yourself in position to be competitive, be that pest, be that team nobody wants. And who knows, there may be a disgruntled star in a year or two, we don't know, and he may get you closer to that championship level. Him and Cade Cunningham may be a great duo that makes other players want to play there, and you may get on that championship level. But the great thing for Detroit is you are not in the draft anymore. You're not looking at these next players and who's your next superstar. Your next superstar arrived, and his name's Cade Cunningham. So that's a great sign for you guys, and you're moving forward, and you're most definitely, I believe, going to stay in that playoff atmosphere for the next few years, gain experience, and who knows, you may be able to take off in 2 or 3 years, and you may be the Indiana Pacers, the team no one expected, the 4th or 5th seed, but the team that's right there in the NBA Finals. And you do have a really, really good young player to ride the back of, and Cade Cunningham. I just think he needs more help, but I do think nowadays, and with how Detroit's playing, I think they're more of a destination where guys or disgruntled stars would want to go. Jumping to Milwaukee, I think this is the opposite. I think right now you're a possible championship team, but the more you keep falling short and you just keep not getting there, I think that's going away. And the more that just keeps going away and getting further away, I think eventually Giannis is going to get out. I think he's going to want out. I'm not sure. We heard reports that he wants to stay. Not 100% sure that's true, and I guess we'll see when the offseason starts. But I, for some reason, have a feeling Giannis is going to get traded before next season starts. This offseason's Milwaukee's in the tax apron. They don't really have much room to improve. Dame Lillard's out till mid-year, maybe does even play this year, this upcoming season. On top of that, there's not much room to improve either way. You don't know how Dame's going to come back. We're hoping for the best, but we don't know if it's the same Dame. I think before it's all said and done, when Giannis looks through the roster and sees everything, I think he's going to be wanting more on his way out than people expect. And right now, I would say 75% odds that he's playing in another jersey opening night that's not Milwaukee. Now, I could be wrong, but something's telling me he's on his way out. But the forecast for Milwaukee is you want to build, you want to see what you can do and what roster moves you can make. You have to get younger, you have to get more athletic, you have to give your team a chance. The way this team's been built the last 2 seasons in particular, you're not giving yourself any chance win, and you're really not giving Giannis a reason to stay. So we're going to, if I'm Milwaukee, I'm going to try and make the best moves possible to convince Giannis this is a place you can still stay and compete. And I would say if that doesn't happen within the first month and a half of the offseason, we're going to see a Giannis trade before the season starts. Let's jump over to the West. Let's start with the Lakers, because the Lakers is pretty clear-cut. We believe LeBron's opting in. He's going to stay there. He's going to be there with Luka Doncic. We're going to get a full season of it. That's going to be really fun. I do think you need to change up and see the players around and switch out some guys. You need to get center. You need to get more shooting. You have 2 of the best passers, highest IQ guys in the league. There's just not a lot of shooting on that Lakers team. So I think we're looking for 3-and-D wings from the Lakers, and we're looking for a big. Maybe even a consistent backup big, because you never know injuries or anything. But I think it's pretty simple, and I think it may end up being LeBron's last season. And you want to surround him with the best opportunity and the best chance to win a championship. And I think the Lakers are going to be able to do that, and with him and Luka playing with each other, training camp, and for this whole upcoming season, I think you're going to be right there in the mix, a top 4 Western Conference team. And when it comes down to it, you have a shot to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. And right now, they're the best team in the West, so as long as you have a shot, you're right there. Let's jump to Houston. Then after this, we're going to talk about Tom Thibodeau being let go by the New York Knicks. Let's talk about Houston real quick. Ime Udoka's done a great job. They're moving up. They are, in my opinion, a better version of Detroit, but they're out west. So that's where the problem comes in at. I've been saying for a while they're right there, but they need that one guy, that one go-to guy. I still think it could be Kevin Durant. Maybe someone else, a disgruntled star somewhere else. Maybe it could be Giannis. But besides that, I do think they're just right there. And they just need that go-to guy. And Jalen Green, I get it was his first playoffs, but he's very inconsistent in the playoffs. If possible, if you have to choose between keeping Jalen Green or Şengün, I would keep Şengün. I believe he's more consistent. And if you had to, I really would want to move on from either one. But if you had to pick one to keep and one to trade off for a bigger star, I would pick Jalen Green. He just didn't show up in the playoffs for the most part. He had one good game, and the other games were just so bad. And I get it was his first time, but if you want to be great, there's not those excuses of this is your first playoff series. So you have to get over it. I want to see how Jalen Green bounces back. And even if Houston doesn't make a change, they're still going to be top 4 in the Western Conference. I think they're there. They have that team. The experience of losing may be a great sign for them because now you know how it feels to be there. You know the feel. You know the difference that the playoffs presents compared to regular seasons. And you just go out and compete. And nothing should really change if you're watching the Pacers. Physicality changes, but your style should change. And you shouldn't be thinking too much about it. And if you're Houston, you should look at the Pacers and say, we could be that even if we don't make a trade and get a huge star. But looking at Indiana, was a huge star, but they did make a trade with the team they had, the core they had, and they did get Pascal Siakam. And we saw Pascal Siakam, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. If Houston can get someone like that, they could be there, and they could be that team, and possibly the team to dethrone the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference. So if I'm Houston, I'm looking to acquire that big star. If I don't acquire that big star, I'm not making any earth-shattering moves. I'm not breaking up the core. I'm not changing out guys in the core. If I can't get that huge star go-to guy, I'm keeping it. I'm wanting it back. Now let's talk about Tom Thibodeau being let go in New York. Do I think it's Tom Thibodeau's fault? No, I think he put them in a great position. And he got them to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years for New York Knicks franchise. I think that's very impressive. I just think his downfall will always be not playing enough bench players. Some of the adjustments he made against Indiana in that last series should have been made a lot sooner. That's a big thing. He made adjustments. Starting Mitchell Robertson over Josh Hart was an adjustment, but probably should have been made in Game 2. When you saw how well Mitchell was doing, how not well Josh Hart was doing, how bad he was playing, I think you should have made that adjustment. But in the end, that adjustment ended up looking like it messed with Josh Hart's confidence, so maybe you should not even made the adjustment at all. If you didn't make it in Game 2, maybe you should have just let it be. And just played Mitchell Robertson more, but kept Josh Hart in the starting lineup. Something else, you did go to your bench till really late in that series. Maybe you should have started the series off by going to your bench, which is why I had said before the series started, because of how Indiana picks up 94 feet on the defensive end, and they're always moving and running the ball and getting out in transition off of makes and misses. I said you needed to go to your bench more. It took you like 2 or 3 games in before you start going to your bench. In my opinion, Towns and Brunson looked tired, and they were your best players, and they already aren't really good defenders, and them being tired on top of not really being good defenders just put more of a target on them defensively, and Indiana really exploited that, and we saw the Knicks go home in 6. But I don't think they'd be in this situation if Tom Thibodeau did start coaching there 5 seasons ago. Don't think they would have made it to the conference finals if Tom Thibodeau did start coaching, building that toughness. So I think there's a side for both. I'm interested to see who they get. If they get someone that's never coached before, like never been a head coach before, then I don't think that was a reason if you want to compete for championships to fire Tom Thibodeau. If you can hire someone like Mike Malone, just an experienced head coach that's been there. Maybe if you get Mike Malone, he's won a championship. For looking at Jason Kidd, he's been to the finals. They would have to get an interview from Dallas. I don't see Dallas allowing an interview. Houston always torn down their chance to interview Ime Udoka. So it's very tough to interview a coach that's always signed. But if you end up getting a guy that's never coached before, I don't think firing Tom Thibodeau was the right move. But like I also said, I just think that always not playing the bench thing is going to follow him. I'll come back to you guys on Friday and we'll recap Game 1 of the NBA Finals.